have a next speaker ready to go. Let me welcome up to the stage Drew Johnson. He's the Vice President of Engineering at Aeris. He's going to talk about the challenges to building a high bandwidth wireless network. So Drew, welcome. Take it away.
Clicker somewhere.
Let's see where your clicker is.
Okay, yeah, I would not have gotten very far without that. Once again, I'm Drew Johnson. I'm head of engineering at Aeris. My team writes the software that we use to connect, manage, and monitor things on our network. Today, what I want to do is share a little bit about our experiences at Aeris, tell you a little bit about why we think cellular is still the king of connectivity for a big chunk of the Internet of Things, at least the things that are not on your wrist and not in your home, but then also challenge you to think a little bit about incorporating other types of access technology where you might normally think of using cellular. So I tell you one thing, I absolutely love being a part of the Internet of Things. I know that probably in the course of other presentations you've seen or read about this space. It's many trillion-dollar market, tens of billions of devices. For us at Aeris, I can tell you that as we've built out our next generation systems, I've actually challenged my architects to build for 1 billion devices, which a few years ago that would have been really, really challenging. But today, with cloud-based architectures, that's definitely possible, and that's what we're doing. A little bit more about Aeris. At Aeris, today, we're connecting millions of devices and handling hundreds of millions of transactions every day. And that's across a wide variety of things. We have plenty of trucks, a lot of cars, Hyundais and Hondas and Chryslers and Fiats. We've been very successful in that space. But also healthcare devices like sleep apnea devices, point-of-sale devices, many, many different, all the way down to kind of smart meters or propane tanks. We're really in a unique position to kind of have this really wide variety and volume of things connected to our network. So it gives us this kind of special view that not very many in the industry have. Now, our viewpoint really on connectivity is that we're focused really on hosted, managed, what we call connectivity as a service, something beyond what you might think of as normal cellular connectivity operator business, even though today most of our business is actually connecting those things over cellular. I think the key thing there is that, as I mentioned before, we're really a kind of a technology company. We've written a lot of our own software to manage this connectivity, and we've really optimized it for the Internet of Things. Among other things, we've written our own cellular core that you can kind of think of cellular core as sort of the brains of the network, and we have optimized those brains of the network for the Internet of Things rather than for the handset business. So if we think a little bit more about cellular and why enterprises normally are turning to cellular, really for 3 important strengths. Number one, cellular has broad coverage, both in the rural areas and in the urban areas around the world. Number two, and really importantly, cellular has a well-established kind of manufacturing and provisioning, authentication, authorization mechanism. When you build something and have it be connected over cellular, it just works. That's really important for a lot of enterprises. And then number 3, it's generally secure. Somebody just talked about security a little bit earlier. That's really important for most of our customers. On the topic of coverage, for us, we actually, even today, we're providing connectivity over CDMA access, over GSM and HSPA mechanisms, as well as LTE. And as certainly the world is moving towards LTE, but we're still seeing strong demand for all three of those different access technologies, depending on exactly the use case that our customers have. And then the other thing that we're seeing kind of increased demand for is really global. That becomes really important, being able to launch devices globally without having to put in place a bunch of different relationships or manage a bunch of special kinds of inventory. That's also really important. So these are kind of the key things that we think about when we think about connectivity as a service compared to just being like a mobile operator. A little bit more on coverage. Again, if we think about some differences in kind of the consumer handset business versus the Internet of Things. As we said, relative to coverage, cellular is great, but if you're kind of a normal operator optimizing for the handset business and owning kind of spectrum, what happens is you actually optimize for your own towers to a great extent. So if your device can see even a fraction of a bar from your own tower, you will always kind of have your central brain, your algorithms, choosing to connect to that tower rather than to maybe a better signal. And that's one of the things that we've done at Aeris as part of optimizing for the Internet of Things, is we have put kind of these selection algorithms into the hands of our enterprise customers so that they can actually get a little bit better quality of service. And what we've seen from them is kind of on the order of 10 to 20% improved connectivity by being able to adjust these kind of algorithms. And that can make a really big difference if you're thinking about a crash notification from a car or a sleep apnea device that needs to report or alert on sleep apnea. Again, a little bit more on the topic of security. Generally, cellular is really good. Security is really about layers, and applications should have implemented end-to-end security. That's really the kind of foundation that should be in place. Honestly, we don't always see that out of our customers. But one thing that's good is most of our customers connect to us over VPN, and then kind of the cellular standards kind of do a really good job of providing a layer of security for over-the-air, especially compared to some of the other kinds of access technologies. But then what we've done at Aeris is we've actually put together kind of another layer of security we call connection lock. And with connection lock in place, our customers' devices can only be communicating with the customer applications. It kind of overcomes this issue of fundamentally, if you think about it, cellular was kind of originally built for all devices to communicate with each other. I mean, we're all supposed to be able to call each other, text each other, visit any internet site. But with our connection lock technology in place, devices can only talk to the application, they can only access the data of the network application. So it makes a big difference from kind of adding another layer of security. And not only that, using that same kind of technology, what's happening is we have a lot of customers who are starting to take a multi-purpose device, like a handset. If you think about handsets starting to become an M2M device, take a handset like if you're a taxi company, you can give it to your driver and use that handset as a taxi dispatch device. And so with something like connection lock in place, then that handset, which is really a multi-purpose device, becomes a single-purpose M2M device. And using connection lock, that taxi company can make sure that that the costs are only being used for that taxi dispatch. So then if we kind of look a little bit more at the handset in general, handset business is really kind of a fundamentally different business than Internet of Things. I'm sure, as somebody mentioned earlier, everybody in here has a handset. If we think about who the primary stakeholder is of a handset, it's really us. We're willing to pay on the order of $100 a month. We use gigabytes of data. And that's really different than, for example, if you take a connected car. Connected car, the primary stakeholder is really the OEM. And our viewpoint is certainly, and I'm sure many of you share that if the OEM could connect every single car, they could fundamentally change the way that cars are built, sold, and serviced. And that can actually be done for just a few megabytes per month, but it has to be done at a cost that also is just a few dollars per month, not kind of the hundreds of dollars that we're willing to pay for our cell phones. And then if we go to the other end of the spectrum, in our business, we look at a propane tank. The business case there is really that the propane dealer can save maybe 1 truck roll per year to fill up that tank and make sure that the homeowner never goes cold in the winter. But that has to be done at a cost that is a few cents per month, not even dollars. So this is kind of the spectrum that we're working with across the Internet of Things in our business. So then it's really interesting to kind of keep those machine types in mind as we think about the challenges of cellular. Number one is really cost. Cellular is licensed spectrum, has a cost basis that's not free, for sure. Number two is longevity. If we go back and think through those devices, you think about a handset's in the market for a couple years. A car is in the market for 10 plus years. A propane tank could be in place for decades. But then if you think about how cellular technologies are marching along, they're kind of a continuous cycle of end-of-lifing new technologies. That's a real challenge for a lot of these machine types. Number three is congestion. We already talked about how handsets can deliver to the owner of that spectrum on the order of $100 a month, whereas these other devices are dollars or cents. So there's always this competition for how to kind of best monetize that spectrum that's owned and managed. And then number four is power consumption. If we go back to think in particular about the propane tank, that propane tank device needs to operate under battery power for a really long time, and cellular is really not the best option when it comes to power consumption. So then if we look at what are kind of some of the good alternatives to cellular when we might think of cellular. Number one really is probably Wi-Fi, great for kind of medium range connectivity. It's unlicensed spectrum, so it's a low cost basis. Probably already you would say it's the king of connectivity for devices in the home. Another option is this emerging low-power WAN connectivity. We've got some providers that are starting to emerge there, like Sigfox, and really there you're talking about being able to send small amounts of data for really long distances, but utilizing very low power consumption. So if you think about the battery life of devices being able to go on for a really long time, that's really great. And then just so we're kind of handling all the kind of use cases in the kind of personal area network, local area network, Bluetooth and Bluetooth low energy are really important. We happen to host a meetup in the Valley called IoT Silicon Valley. If you get a chance, go check it out. We have huge debates on a bunch of other types of connectivity. These are just a few of them that are kind of emerging and important right now. Then if we turn to kind of the challenges of Wi-Fi, If we think about a big contender for taking over some of the cellular connectivity, that's certainly Wi-Fi, but the challenges there, number one is really access complexity. I'll tell you my own experience is I live in downtown San Jose. As I walk almost every morning from my building in downtown San Jose to the Starbucks, which is a couple blocks away, I pass 3 or 4 businesses that actually all offer Wi-Fi access, and I'm bombarded with a bunch of login screens, kind of like what you see there, where for that period of time while I'm walking, I actually have no connectivity because my phone thinks that it can connect to these Wi-Fi access points, but then there's this kind of extra layer that's in the way. And then in downtown San Jose, we also have the opportunity, we have what's called wickedly fast Wi-Fi, which doesn't have one of these screens, and my phone can connect to that, but in fact, when I do connect, the throughput and quality of service is so poor that it's really unusable. So, if you really think about that, it's really just an amazingly clumsy kind of mechanism still in place for Wi-Fi. And then if you think about from a security perspective, we all know that we've read about the Google Street View cars that have driven around and collected people's emails and passwords and all that. Wi-Fi, at least as it's deployed today, is mostly in a not very secure manner. So we say it's sort of like the Wild West right now, and that if cellular were free, we think, yeah, probably everything would be connected via cellular because of these reasons, that cellular just works and it's so much easier than these other access technologies. But then if we think about the future, we know that for sure all devices are not going to be connected on cellular. And we are starting to see some glimmers of hope, in particular for Wi-Fi. There are some cities that are starting to deploy Wi-Fi in a more managed way. We see some of the cable companies that are starting to create these islands of managed Wi-Fi connectivity that could be leveraged for the Internet of Things, outside the home. And we really think that's actually the good way to think about it, that it doesn't have to be kind of an all or none solution, that even if you're thinking about an automotive program that would have to have cellular as a base, incorporating Wi-Fi into the connectivity options would really make a lot of sense, because then you could start leveraging these islands of connectivity where it's really a lot like Wi-Fi offload for handset, but has to be in a more managed way that's outside of just the home. But that's really the right way to think about it. And then same thing for the low-power WAN technologies. We're starting to see islands of connectivity where low-power WAN is really an option. And we think that these kind of incorporating these islands into the overall connectivity landscape is really the right approach. So summary, really, once again, our view is in many ways, cellular is still a king of connectivity for Internet of Things, for a lot of things, but like to challenge you to start incorporating other types of access technology into your programs as you start building those out. That's really it for me. Thanks for listening.